Hello, my name is Diego. These are the participants of our group. In our final uh, work, we did related the psychology behind the Fight Club movie. And
So, just for some context, the subject of study that we chose was the movie Fight Club, which was a film released in 1999 and directed by David Fincher. Essentially, the plot revolves around the story of an office worker who then meets an acquaintance known as Tyler Durden, and they form an underground fight club, which eventually grows into a violent anti-establishment movement, uh, which is a very big twist in the movie. The film mainly explores themes of consumerism, identity, and social disillusionment, and we're gonna relate it to some context, to some concepts that we uh, learned in class.
So the first concept that we applied to the movie was alienation, and the first subcategory of alienation is mental alienation, which can see in the movie when the main character, which is called the narrator, experiences a type of dissociation with himself. So he creates an alter ego, which he names Tyler Durden. And in the beginning of the movie, we don't realize that Tyler is his alter ego. We just believe that he's another character from the movie. But he does that as a way to cope with his sense of disillusionment and powerlessness, which he feels in other aspects of his life. So the narrator, which is the one in the picture, he becomes mentally alienated from his own identity, leading to a fractured sense of self. Now, regarding the social aspect of alienation, the narrator works in a mundane corporate job and he despises his job. So he feels socially alienated in his workplace and he's surrounded by colleagues who feel the same way. They're robotic and dispassionate about their jobs. So that just worsens his situation. And the film conveys a sense of isolation and emptiness that many people experience in soul-sucking corporate environments. So we can also see that type of alienation in those aspects of the movie.
The third subcategory of alienation, it was cultural alienation, in which we identify that Fight Club can be seen as a countercultural film in which the characters deliberately distance themselves from conventional culture norms, and they also create their own subculture with its own rituals and rules, which run counter to the value of consumerism and passivity. Another category that we identified, it was identity, and its first subcategory is personal identity, in which the narrator and Tyler Durden constitute two aspects of the same person. And meanwhile, the narrator is a passive, discontent person oppressed by consumerism and the expectations of society. Tyler is the complete opposite. He's assertive, anti-consumerist, and rebellious. This cut-up serves as an exploration of personal identification, where the narrator's experience of self is fragmented, and he creates an alter ego, which is Tyler, to release these suppressed elements of his persona.
So, for social identity, we analyzed a masculine crisis and the narrator's job. Starting with the masculine crisis, the film touches on the crisis of masculinity in a modern post industrial society. Many men feel like emasculated by their mundane office jobs and the consumer culture that tells them what to desire. The film Fight Club becomes a place for these men to reclaim a sense of primal masculinity, that thus reestablishing their social identity as men. You can pass the slide. Okay. So for the narrator's job, the narrator's white collar's job is so sucking and meaningless to him, making him feel like a cog in a machine. This dissatisfaction underscores how work or the lack of fulfillment in work can profoundly impact one's sense of worth and place in society. And for identity recognition, considering the main plot of Fight Club was an anti-establishment movement. The identification of acknowledgement and gratitude were not emphasized in the movie.
So for the final concept that we chose to relate to the case was the collective defense strategies. The Fight Club in itself is was used as a release valve for the pent up frustration and emasculation felt by the characters. Uh, Such frustration and emasculation derived from either their corporate jobs or societal pressures uh, as men. Project Mayhem was another aspect. Project Mayhem was actually the, I guess, escalated version of Fight Club. It aims to cripple oppressive systems through violence and civil disobedience, and later even domestic terrorism. It's important to emphasize that all of these initiatives uh, they encompassed a lot of people that felt the same way, which is why it is classified as a collective defense strategy. Again, there's also the challenge to conventional hierarchies. Tyler Durden works in an anarchic manner through an anti establishment approach, meaning he wants to literally cripple and destroy society as we know it. Essentially, he hates capitalism. All of these, uh, I guess, examples exemplify the radicalization of CDS, which is no longer fighting the suffering that they felt. In the beginning, it was a sort of social imaginary approach to collective defense, but later, since they were literally trying to end society and establish anarchy, it became a radicalization of collective defense strategies. So that was our presentation. Thank you for watching. All of the analysis and uh, connections that we made to key concepts were made through the um, concepts introduced in class and our notes. Thank you.